summarizing Season 2 of The Wheel of Time in 8 minutes or less. 3, 2, 1, go. First up, we have a powerless Moiraine in Arafel struggling to cope with her inability to channel and generally taking out her frustrations on Lan. Meanwhile, Rand is coping with his impending madness by working in a madhouse in Cairhien. Smart. And you know the job doesn't pay very well because he's having to subsidise his rent by providing sexual favours to his landlady. Beware opening a community chest when playing Wheel of Time Monopoly. After ditching his friends in Season 1, Mat, apparently returned to Tar Valon, was immediately apprehended by the Red Ajah and is currently being held prisoner in the White Tower. Little does he know that Egwene and Nynaeve are just down the hall training to become Aes Sedai, with varying degrees of success. And Perrin is hunting down Padan Fain with the Shienarans after the peddler stole the Horn of Valyr at the end of Season 1. For the first couple of episodes, most of these threads in the pattern continue on their own path. Rand assaults one of his colleagues and instead of being called up by HR, is promoted to caring for the former false dragon Logain. He wants to learn how to control Saidin and Logain wants some wine, so Rand and his landlady, who's totally not evil, gatecrash a posh party, talk to Lindsay Duncan for a bit and steal the wine. Egwene befriends a new novice called Elaine, who just so happens to be the daughter heir of one of the largest kingdoms on the map, whilst Nynaeve completes a series of emotionally traumatizing tests to become an accepted. Meanwhile, Mat is doing his best Andy Dufresne impression and trying to tunnel out of his cell, but instead of Rita Hayworth, he finds Min instead. Perrin and co team up with a sniffer called Elias to help track Fain, but their quest is cut short by the arrival of the Seanchan, nail-clipper-hating invaders from a foreign land with the power to enslave channelers and collectively make book readers gasp. After learning about a mysterious poem, Moiraine runs off to Cairhien, leaving Lan to fourth wheel Alana and her warders. Perrin is freed from the Seanchan by Ashamael for some reason and teams up with Elias. Meanwhile, Mat is freed by Liandrin on the instructions of Ashamael for some reason, and teams up with Min. Back to Rand, who after finding out Logain was just trolling about the wine, vents his frustrations by having hot sex with his landlady, who's totally not evil. Such hot sex, in fact, it burns down the whole Airbnb and the two decide to ditch town before the insurance company can investigate their claim. Nynaeve and Egwene learn of Perrin's imprisonment by the Seanchan and attempt to leave the tower, unknowingly followed by Elaine, but then all three are ambushed by Liandrin and knocked out. Moiraine meets up with Lindsay Duncan, who turns out to be her younger sister Arnveer, and is forced to drink tea to discover Rand's whereabouts. Luckily, when Moiraine was a novice at the tower, she was tea-chugging champion 3 years in a row, and learns where Rand is just in time to cock-block him before anyone messes with his Dark One's taint. Turns out the landlady was evil this whole time. Who would have guessed? Loial and the Shienarans finally catch up to Padan Fain and the Horn of Valyr. Unfortunately, it is whilst they are being held captive and he's gifting the horn to the Seanchan. After the bare minimum of screen time is spent developing Perrin's connection to the wolves, he remembers he left his charger back in the village where he was captured and ditches Elias to go retrieve it. But oh no, the place is swarming with white cloaks, so he decides to free this random girl from a cage on the off chance she'll be some sort of gravity-defying super soldier. What are the odds? Liandrin takes Egwene, Nynaeve and Elaine through the ways to Falme, where she hands them over to the Seanchan. Nynaeve and Elaine manage to escape, but Egwene isn't so lucky. Meanwhile, Rand and Moiraine are being chased by landlady Lanfear all the way back to Cairhien. Moiraine warns Rand not to fall asleep because Lanfear can attack him in his dreams, then after chatting to her sister, she tells Rand to go to sleep so Lanfear can attack him in his dreams. Smart. Nynaeve and Elaine sneak into Falme to try and rescue Egwene, but are ambushed again and knocked out. Helmets need to become standard attire at the tower. Egwene is collared by Rhaena and forced to endure torture until she breaks down and accepts her new life as a slave of the Seanchan. I'm not even going to make jokes about this storyline because it is honestly the best part of Season 2. After a wet dream in the desert, Rand wakes up and realises he's made a massive mistake leaving Lanfear and ditches Moiraine to go be with her. I wonder why. Luckily for Nynaeve and Elaine, their attackers turn out to be a yellow sister called Rima and her warder. Whilst trying to find a weakness in the collar, Nynaeve accidentally channels too much, alerting the Seanchan to their presence. Rima is forced to give herself up so Nynaeve and Elaine can stay hidden. Again, no jokes, just heartbreakingly brilliant television. Meanwhile, Rand dreams of Egwene being tortured in Falme and sets out to save her. On his way out of Cairhien, he bumps into Mat, who agrees to join him. Mat goes to say goodbye to Min, and she tells him about a vision she had of him killing Rand. So Mat bails on his buddies once again, before then being ambushed and knocked out. Seriously, helmets. Perrin and his new White Cloak killing companion Aviendha meet up with 2 more warrior women on their way to Falme. And they and Aviendha play a nice game of kick the out of each other. Rand, whilst waiting for Mat, is confronted by Lan, who takes him to the Sun Palace where the Amyrlin's seat is waiting for him. Swan shields him from the One Power and plans to hold the dragon prisoner until the last battle. Rand, though, has other ideas, and Dream texts his murderous sugar mama SOS, and she blasts into Kyrian like a mum who's just discovered there's booze at the sleepover. Meanwhile, Matt wakes up in Falm and learns that doing shrooms with a Forsaken is a one-way ticket to a seriously bad trip. Using the collar they got from Reimer, Nynaeve and Elaine kidnap a Seanchan Suldam so they can cosplay their way into the kennels where Egwene is being kept. Back in Kyrian, Rand escapes while most of the Aes Sedai deal with the damage caused by Lanfear. Lan, whilst holidaying with Alana and pissing on trees, apparently discovered that Moraine wasn't stilled at the end of Season 1, but instead is just shielded from the One Power with a tied-off weave. Rand cuts it and Moraine opens a waygate so they can travel to Falm. Now everyone is either at or heading to Falm, including the White Cloaks Perrin met earlier, who plan to kick the Seanchan back into the sea. Matt is visited by Pardon Thane, who gives him the evil Shadar Logoth dagger that possessed him in Season 1. After being kicked out of the ways by Lanfear, Moraine and Lan are taking the scenic route to the city, and we are treated to this overly indulgent scene of them rebonding. Perrin and his spear maidens conveniently run into Loial and the surviving Shanarans, who conveniently have stolen back the Horn of Valyr from the Seanchan.
How very convenient.
With the White Cloaks invading the city, the Suldam and their channeling slaves position themselves on top of a tower to rain fire down below. Everybody starts fighting and it's all fairly chaotic. Rand hilariously slaughters a contingent of Seanchan in his pursuit of Egwene. Matt resists touching the cursed dagger and instead ties it to a curtain rod to make a magical metal melting spear. And Nynaeve and Elaine's plan to rescue Egwene takes a blow to the neck and knee. No matter, because Egwene decides to defy her Suldam anyway, and whilst Renna is distracted disciplining her, a catapult destroys the top of the tower they were stationed, conveniently killing everyone except the two of them.
How very convenient.
Egwene manages to get a collar around Renna's neck and uses it to choke her out, with a little help from gravity, eventually freeing herself from the Seanchan's control. Perrin and co meet up with Matt, and after the worst dialogue exchange of all time,
"We must get the hole to Randall Thor."
You can't even open it? Why didn't you say that?
Matt uses the dagger to open the box and reveal the worst looking prop of all time. Rand reunites with Egwene on top of the tower, but the touching moment is interrupted by Ishamael, who easily knocks both of them on their arse, while a group of Seanchan offshore shield Rand from the One Power. Offshore Seanchan shield. Perrin finds himself on the wrong end of Aemon Valder's knife and is rescued by his wolf friend Hopper. And because I refuse to keep my eyes open during what happens next, I can only assume Hopper is then murdered by White Cloak Sr., which causes Perrin to lose his shit and avenge his furry friend in plain view of White Cloak Jr. Matt, meanwhile, runs into a large group of Seanchan and is forced to blow the Gluggle Jug of Valyr, reviving all the dead heroes from the past to finish off the Seanchan. After some dodgy-looking healing by Nynaeve, she and Elaine hobble off towards the tower, where Rand, still shielded, refuses Ishamael's offer to serve the Dark One. Matt makes it to the top and falls for the old illusion projection trick, accidentally stabbing Rand just like in Min's vision.
Just like the gypsy woman said.
Egwene defends the injured Rand and Matt from Ishamael and is joined by Perrin and miraculously Nynaeve and Elaine as well. Amazingly unfazed by climbing hundreds of steps with an arrow-shaped hole in her leg, Elaine is able to partially heal Rand just in time for Moraine to blow up the Seanchan ships and release the shield blocking him from channeling. With a fiery sword, Rand stabs Ishamael and subtly proclaims himself the Dragon Reborn with a nonchalant giant flaming dragon in the sky. And that is the end of Season 2 of The Wheel of Time. Apart from Lanfear being confronted by Moghedien, who informs her that before he died, Ishamael released the other Forsaken into the world. And that is the end of Season 2 of The Wheel of Time. Bring on Season 3.